We have a bombshell report from NHL insider Elliotte Friedman discussing the state of the Oilers goaltending and why what they're thinking has fans surprised and extremely worried about what could happen next season. Hello everyone, welcome back to Oilers Digest. I'm your host, Nikash Ganguli. Hope everyone is having a great day, a great time whenever you are watching this. We have a very interesting topic to discuss regarding the Edmonton Oilers goaltending on why a move might not be made going into next season. And before we discuss why this could impact the Oilers season and why fans might be mad at this decision, make sure you guys do subscribe to the channel. Currently 80% of viewers are not subscribed. So if you are part of that portion who are watching our videos but not subscribed to the channel, why don't you just hit subscribe? It's really easy. It's right below. Just hit the button. It's free. It's simple. And let's get that number of the subscribe portion even higher. And let's get that non-subscribe portion even lower as we try and get closer to 3,600 subscribers on the Oilers Digest channel. There's been a lot going on. Free agency, the draft just happened. So we are covering all the Oilers news throughout the offseason in the most digestible fashion possible here on Oilers Digest. So I've talked enough about the intro. Let's get right into the video today. So first things first is the report coming from Elliotte Friedman from 32 Thoughts. This is an article where it discusses Oilers set to change goalie coaches. They're trying to find a new backup for Stuart Skinner. So this does kind of indicate that Stuart Skinner will remain with the team. So this is very interesting because there's been a lot of discussions about why Stuart Skinner should remain on the team given how he performed throughout the regular season and the Stanley Cup Finals and the Stanley Cup playoffs. He did not give what the Oilers needed. It was the main thing they were lacking throughout their run. So let's get into what else Elliotte Friedman said throughout this 32 Thoughts podcast. So the quote is, "I have to say there was a time I thought they were going to move on from Skinner. Now I'm not convinced they're going to do that. I think that they feel that," transcribed by the NHL Rumours Twitter account. One thing that's happening is that they're changing their goalie coach and they're going to make a change at that position. So do we think that changing the goalie coach is enough to warrant keeping Stuart Skinner? He's really still not that old. I think he's only 23, 24 years old. He's on a good contract, which we will get into later in the video. So let's talk about the goalie coach just a little bit, just so you guys know what's going on there, of course. This is also from the article from Oilers Nation. Dustin Schwartz, a native settler Alberta, had been the Oilers goaltending coach for 10 years, hired to replace Frederick Chabot in 2014-15. Yes, there have been calls for years from market to change out coaches. The list of netminers he rolled through Edmonton in the past decade have been Stuart Skinner, Mikko Koskinen, Cam Talbot, Laurent Brossoit, Mike Smith, Calvin Pickard, and Jack Campbell, being 7 of 17 goalies who played who played 2 years or more under Dustin Schwartz, the current goalie coach. So that is, of course, a lot of goalies coming through Edmonton. They haven't really been able to find, a main starter. They tried Koskinen, it didn't work. They tried Mike Smith, who was just kind of old at the end of the day. Cam Talbot gave them one good season, but they played him way too much. So it's been a lot for the Edmonton Oilers try and find a good goalie. They were hoping Stuart Skinner could be that guy, but maybe he's just not going to be that bona fide starter. And maybe you bring in a 1A or 1B goalie to kind of run tandem with him. He doesn't even make starter money, so it really wouldn't be that big of an issue. But the Oilers, again, they don't have a lot of cap space to make such a move. So we talked about Stuart Skinner, but let's show you his stats for those that just need a quick refresh on how he did throughout the regular season. So this is Stuart Skinner's career stats. He came in, obviously, at 2021, only played one game, but I would say his first real season was kind of that second year where he had, he went 6-6 and 12 games started. Really not that bad, 913 save percentage. He still had a promising career, and he's still not that old. He's only 26. I was wrong about him being only 24. He came in older, which most goalies do, but goalies tend to have a different developmental curve than the forwards do, of course. So we have Stuart Skinner at a save percentage of about 913, which isn't that bad in the first 2 seasons. Then he dipped down to a 905, but as we know, scoring in the NHL has really gone up in the past few seasons. And then last year, he really dipped down to an 896. Now, you may be thinking an 896 is terrible, some of the worst goaltending we've seen. And while I agree it's definitely not the best, we do have to look at the NHL average goaltending right now is like a 901, 900-ish. It's really not that high as it used to be. We used to think that, if you had like a below 910, you were some of the worst goalies in the league. And that was when scoring was really low, like when we had players like Jamie Benn winning the Art Ross Trophy with like 87 points. but scoring has really gone up in the past years. Only like a select few elite goalies do put up crazy numbers that we thought were average back maybe, 8, 9, 10 years ago. So an 8.96, I don't think it's great. It's not the best. It's serviceable, but it's definitely below average. So I wouldn't really get too mad about that. I think there is room to grow for Stuart Skinner in that section of his game. Obviously 26 and 18 and 4, really not too bad. He gave the Oilers good minutes when he had to. They were a great regular season team despite only finishing third in the division. They took care of LA, and then they made it to the Cup Finals. So what else can we really say? Next up, we do have his playoff stats, obviously, which is what was a big falter of his, an 8.89. That is not good. And I said an 8.96 was okay below average. An 8.89 is really, really not good. He went 7-7 in the playoffs. Just didn't have a great playoff run at all. 2.99 goals against average. Really did not show up for the Oilers when they needed him, which is why this whole goaltending controversy is at the forefront. That's why Elliotte Friedman has been gone on about trying to mitigate Stuart Skinner, how much he plays, bringing in a different coach. And I know the simple option is to trade him or bring in a new goalie, but I will explain why that's really not an option given what's available in the market right now, unless there is a surprising trade candidate that me or you do not know about. So again, if we look at Stuart Skinner's contract, of course, it's really not that bad. I believe he is entering the final year of it before he's a UFA. So he's entering the final year at $2.6 million. It's nothing in the current cap landscape of the NHL. You can see in the top right there of the photo, it does say he's only making 3.11% of the cap. It's not bad. It's really not that bad at all. I know people, do want Stuart Skinner out of town, and I can see why. I can't agree with that, but if you can get a different goalie to kind of tandem with him instead of like a Calvin Pickard, who really, he played adamantly for the Edmonton Oilers. He shouldn't have played as many games as he did. He went 22 and 10 and 1. He was very okay in the playoffs with a 900 save. And I think expectations are obviously different for a guy like Pickard, who's making league min, supposed to be the the third goalie, maybe sometimes the fourth goalie. So that is someone who you like to be able to call up in a sticky situation, but you don't want him as your tandem goalie. And the Oilers were giving him hard minutes in the Stanley Cup Finals. It's just not where you want to be at if you're trying to win the Stanley Cup, which they got close with Stuart Skinner and Calvin Pickard. So it really does make you think, if they do bring in a different goalie, can they get, actually win the Stanley Cup? They're as close as anyone could get who didn't win. So it's certainly interesting from that point of view. So obviously, there's a lot going on in the NHL free agency, but the only good goalie that was kind of available was Jake Allen, and he extended in New Jersey. John Gibson obviously traded to Detroit, so those are two options out of the window. And I was just looking online about some goalie options in free agency, and there is essentially nothing. Robin Leonard not going to play ever again. Georgiev had an 8.74 save percentage on the bad San Jose Sharks. Maybe you take a flyer there if he doesn't want a lot of money. Marc-Andre Fleury is retiring. I believe there was a report today that teams were trying to get him to come out of retirement because there was no goalies left on the market. Ilya Samsonov, I don't hate that as well, but again, Skinner and Pickard both had better numbers than him last year, and Samsonov was on a team that was strong like the Vegas Golden Knights. James Reimer on the Sabres with an 8.97. That's okay. And then I'm going through these guys, and it's there's really nothing left out there for the Edmonton Oilers, to be honest with you guys, for the viewers that are watching here on Oilers Digest. There's not a whole lot going on. Some name that has been thrown around is the Islanders goalie, Ilya Sorokin. I don't really see that happening, to be honest with you guys. The Islanders, when you have a starter as good as Sorokin is, or as good as he's supposed to be, you try and keep that. Also, I don't see the Oilers attempting, they don't have the assets for a guy like Ilya Sorokin, who's supposed to be one of the top, percentage of goalies in the NHL. So, everyone, Stan Bowman does have his work cut out for him for the rest of the NHL offseason. He has a lot of work to do. He still has to fill out that bottom six a little, maybe add another defenseman, but it's going to be through trades because the free agency is already pretty dried up. Everyone good is signed, especially in the goaltending market, and the defensemen are gone. Brent Burns, Orlov, all those guys are gone if you want to sign them. They did get Mangiapane, which was cool. So, guys, with that being said, let me know in the comment section, what should the Oilers do with their goaltending situation? Should they trade Stuart Skinner, or should they give him another chance with a new goalie coach and maybe a different platoon type of style with a stronger goalie than Calvin Pickard? With that being said, everyone, let me know if you enjoyed the video, and make sure you guys like, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace out.